This is The Speaking Show. I'm David Newman, and you're tuned in to the #1 podcast for speakers, consultants, and experts who want to speak more profitably. Well, you don't like selling. It's because you're doing it wrong. You're doing it old school, manipulation, lying, tactics, and techniques. The guy who's here to help you is my friend, Ari Galper. Ari, welcome to the show.
Thank you, David. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
So unlock the sales game. That is the key. And I'm going to go even one step further. I think it's about unlearn a lot of the traditional sales nonsense that people have been layering on. Tell us a little bit about how you came to the work that you're doing and what's the crusade that you're on to fix the sales problems that so many of us have.
Absolutely. Thanks for asking. So there's a kind of a pivotal story that happened about 20 years ago that really kind of opened up my mindset to all this. And I think you might appreciate this. So back then I was a sales manager in a software company, and we launched the first online website data collection tools. Now it's called Google Analytics. You've probably heard of that, but we were the first one to launch that many years ago. Internet was taking off, and I was managing 18 salespeople underneath me at the time. And I got the leads that came across my desk with the big opportunities. And so there's one opportunity came across my desk. It was a big company. You recognize the name, lots of websites. I called the guy back. We had a conversation. And I realized if I close this one sale, it'll double the revenue in one opportunity. That's how big this thing was, a big whale, as you call it. And so we had a nice conversation. He agreed to a conference call and a demo to see what we do. And so the day finally came, Friday, for our coffee afternoon. Everyone was really excited about it. My CEO and I went to a conference room. We closed the door behind us. There's a big, long table in the conference room. In the middle of the table was one of those Starship speakerphones, the corporate one, 3 leg on it. And so I closed the door and I dialed the number they gave me, and the phone rang. He picks it up. He says, "Hey, Ari." I said, "Hey, John, how's it going?" "Good." He says to me, "Let us tell you who's with us on the line today." And I was like, "Oh, I didn't realize the other people there." Next thing I hear is, "My name is Mike. I'm CEO." I was like, "Oh, this is good." "My name is John. I'm head of IT." "Oh, this is perfect." "My name is Julie. I'm head of global marketing." This is even better. I mean, everybody on this phone call was basically a decision maker, right? This is a call we hope as often as possible. So I began to introduce myself, then gave them a live demo over the web of one of their websites we collected in advance to see their information coming through and live. And this is the first time they ever saw this. And I started hearing this noise on the phone call, like, "Wow, this is great. This is amazing. I can see how we can use this. We can identify this. We can identify." They start asking me all kinds of questions. How does it work? How do we install it? How does the technology work? Of course, I was competent technically. I was doing my thing. And look, there was so much chemistry on this phone call, David. It was like a love fest on the phone. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
They had all the right kinds of questions. I had all the right kinds of answers. It was like just the ideal call. And so I was a student of selling back then. I had all the books in my shelf at home. I had the University in Wheels, some of the CDs in the cars. We listened to the gurus speak. I've gone to the seminar. And I was a student, really diligent, trying to learn my craft. And I was doing my thing, building rapport, answering objections, being enthusiastic. And so, look, it was an amazing call. So much chemistry. Even got a high five back here from my boss. He's like, "Nice job." He's on his phone, calling for this car he wants to order with the wheel color and everything for the bonus, because it was just such a great opportunity. So an hour goes by, call comes to a close, and my contact says to me, "Ari, this is great. We love it. Look, give us a call in a couple of weeks, follow up with us, and we'll move this thing forward." I was like, "Oh, thank you, God." I was so excited. It was like the dream come true. And so I said my goodbyes. I took my arm in my hand and I reached for the phone in the middle of the table. As I'm reaching for the speakerphone, I'm reaching out for that off button. As I'm reaching for the off button to turn the off button on, by complete accident, now I said divine intervention, my thumb hit the mute button instead of the off button by complete accident. Divine intervention, basically. And a little voice inside of me said, "Ari, go to the dark side. Be a fly in the wall. You got nothing to lose. Go where no one's ever gone in the sales world before and be a fly in the wall." So I pulled my thumb back just for a couple of seconds without even thinking about it. They started talking amongst themselves, thinking I had left the call. Now, this is not a trick question, but what would you imagine? What would you expect them to say amongst themselves after a call like that?
This was great. I hope we can get this thing. Oh my God, this is going to change our business. Man, these guys finally get it. We talked to those other clowns. They didn't get it. This is the company to go with.
Absolutely. That's exactly what you'd expect after a love fest like that. But let me tell you what they said verbatim, word for word. I'll never forget it. What they said was this: they said, we're not going to go with him. Keep using him for more information and make sure we shop someplace else cheaper. Knife and heart twist. I was in a state of shock. I finally snapped out of it. I hit the off button. I looked at the wall and I said to myself, what did I do wrong? I was competent. I was professional. I was outgoing. I wasn't pushy. I did everything I was taught to do by everyone in the industry, the right thing to do. And the first big epiphany hit me. You can tell me if you agree with me this or not. That somewhere along the way, it has become socially acceptable not to tell the truth to people who sell, right?
Amen. Sadly.
It's okay to say things like, sounds good. Oh, send me information. Oh, wait, we're definitely interested. No, send us a proposal without any intention of buying. And then I asked myself, why were they afraid just to tell me the truth? And I realized at that moment that there is this invisible flow of pressure that flows underneath everything you do pre-sale, every conversation you have with somebody, and they can't see it and you can't see it, but it is there. And if you aren't consciously aware of removing the pressure from your sales process in order to, what I say, get to the truth of people, meaning build enough trust with them where they feel open enough to tell you where you stand. And that became our entire mindset shift, where the goal is no longer to focus on the end goal of the sale anymore, which is so contrarian. The goal is to only focus on deep trust with somebody, to build this moment of vulnerability where they feel comfortable telling you the truth. And that becomes your main goal. And that became our whole Unlock the Game revolution 20 years ago, which has now helped thousands of business owners all over the world and entrepreneurs who struggle with this idea of chasing prospects, the dysfunctional nature of being dehumanized and rejected and just torn apart by the process has really become so painful and just inhumane that I made it my mission to make it the right way finally.
Yeah. Wow. 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 So I remember, because I've been a fan and follower, and we've talked about this before, like way back, like almost 20 years, like early 2000s, 2003, 2004, something like that. And before Unlock the Game, your brand and your program was called reverse selling, right?
That's right. Wow. Good memory.
Reverse selling. And that was, I mean, similar, very similar concept, but it's about being completely honest and bringing in the negative, bringing in the no early and often to make it a safe choice. Why do you think so many salespeople are afraid of addressing the negative, acknowledging the negative, saying, hey, this might not be for you? We might not be a good fit, whether we decide there's a next step or not. These are all kind of phrases and things I've learned from you that you need to pepper every sales conversation with acknowledgement of the negative. Why are salespeople afraid to do that?
It's not the negative. It's that they aren't ready to handle the truth. From a famous movie, you know what I'm talking about. Because we've been so conditioned, they've been so brainwashed to focus on the end goal of the sale, which is our goal, that we don't know how to let go of that objective and be present with people and connect them at a deep level. And what I'll be talking about today is a total mindset shift that will revolutionize the way you think about this, because what we'll talk about is how to build deep trust with people. And I will warn you in advance, as you know, to everyone listening now, that my work is very, very contrarian. It's the opposite of what your manager's telling you, of what the gurus are telling you, what you're hearing on social media. It's the opposite. And that's what makes it so refined and so natural, because what we're talking about is really connecting on a human level with people. And right now, more than ever, the world needs more of that.
Yes. Well, let's jump into part one. What's the first area that you want to focus on?
Well, I think the first thing we should do here is clean out the mental hard drive, the old sales myths that we have in the back of our head, kind of tying us down like an anchor, so I can kind of release everyone to a new way of thinking. And that's really addressing some of the sales myths that we still carry from the 1980s and 90s. And that's the first one is this one, that sales is a numbers game. I'm sure you heard that one before, David, in your career. That's the whole idea of, right? The more contacts you make, supposedly the most sales you make, bigger network you have, the more revenue sales you have. You know what we discovered? We discovered it's not about how many contacts you make anymore. It's about how deep you go on each conversation, how good you are trust building, not how good you are building your contact list and making lots of contacts. No, that's the wrong focus. That's totally contrary. Number two is the idea the sale is lost at the end of the process. I'm sure you've been there, David, when you had a deal pending. You work hard for it. Every box checked off at the end, it just kind of drops out. And you're like, what the? It was like the perfect fit. And you're kind of dumbfounded. Like, how did we lose the sale? It was like I'm talking about. Well, we discovered in our research that in this day and age now, the sale is not lost anymore at the end of the process. It's now lost at the beginning of the process. And it actually lost a hello. And I'll prove it to you right now, kind of a fun way. If someone calls your office tomorrow morning and you pick up the phone and you hear, hi, my name is, I'm with, we are a, we'll us through mine in about 3 seconds.
Salesperson and no thanks.
It's over at hello, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I'll make the case, I'm not suggesting that most of your listeners are doing outbound calls, maybe they are, but I'll make the case today that most of them are losing their opportunities, not at the end of the process, but they're losing them at the beginning, which will be shocking for people who are about to hear about to tell them. And the third one is a big one. The idea that rejection is part of the sales game. It comes with the territory. If you can't take a no, if you can't take rejection, if you're not thick-skinned enough, you're not made for success. That's the old sales manager who got beat up over the years and said, you know what? If I can get beat up, which is all so wrong. We discovered that rejection actually is triggered by certain things you say and do unconsciously that cause the other person to push back on you. And I'll share with you some of those triggers today, which I think will really get people excited about what's possible.
Hey, good looking. Are you currently getting paid to speak? Would you like to ramp that up? We can help. Book a confidential speaker strategy call with our team at doitmarketing.com/call, and let's see what we might do together. The call is free, but the results may be priceless. I think there's a concept here, Ari, of not just trust, but safety, right? It's, oh my God, it's risky to talk to a salesperson. They're going to want to cram some stuff down my throat. They're going to put pressure on me. They're going to make me feel weird. They're going to use their techniques on me. Whereas if you humanize the process, and it's so funny because so many salespeople have on their business card, relationship manager, and that's the one thing they're terrible at. They have no idea how to build a genuine human-to-human trust-based relationship. They know how to peddle a product, or they know how to have a perfunctory surface-level sales conversation. What are some of the skill sets that we need to adopt, and what are some of the skills we need to let go of?
Good. We'll talk about that now. We'll talk about the mindset shift that has to happen, and I'll share with your listeners what I call our samples of what we call our trust-based languaging. So I built a whole body of work around languaging that replaces sales scripts, that really engenders and generates that trust and lets them know that you care about them authentically without any hidden agenda. And we'll cover that in a couple of principles behind the system here, the model. So our first core principle is the idea that of always be diffusing pressure. Always be thinking to yourself, how can I take the pressure out of the process for us to fuse together? Because you add pressure in the process that pulls people apart. When you take the pressure out, it brings them together. And how you bring them together is using our languaging that we developed. I'll give you an example right now of a real scenario. So let's say you're having a first call with somebody over the phone. Sounds like the qualified client could be a good fit. Looks like some good chemistry, and you're pretty excited about the opportunity, which is a pretty normal scenario. And the call kind of comes to a close. What do we normally say at the end of a call like that? What are we trained to say when we have an opportunity on the hook and the call comes to a close? We normally say things like what?
How about we
move things forward, right? How about we have a conversation? How about we meet again? How about we follow up? See, we're so conditioned to move things forward, but what can happen if you try and move things forward and they aren't ready yet? What do you break right there in the beginning of your process with them?
Nope, we're good. We're still researching. I still have to talk to a couple more folks. I got to check with my boss, check with the dog.
You break your trust right at hello by you trying to move things forward. So, same scenario, our approach. Call is going well, good chemistry, could be a fit. Call comes to an end. Rather than saying, hey, how about we go to our next step? What we say instead is this, and your listeners might want to write this one down. What we say is, where do you think we should go from here? And I'll say it again. Where do you think we should go from here? Now, how does that change the dynamic of the moment?
Puts the control back with the prospect.
Power is being shifted. And when you say to somebody, where do you think we should go from here? Usually they're in a state of shock. They can't believe somebody in business would actually ask them what they want to do. They're so used to the traditional model being pulled down or processed, and they can sense that. And usually they say things like, well, I've got one more question. Or what about this? What comes out is the truth at the beginning of your process versus guessing at the end what happened. And that's the magic, is when you can shift your mindset and focus on what their issues are and care about them and change your languaging. It's not scripted to trust-based languaging like this. You activate trust instantly at the beginning of the process. And you may have noticed too, with the way I delivered that, I said, where do you think we should go from here? What'd you notice about that delivery?
The pauses.
Yes. When you slow things down, when you create space, that sends the message that you're willing to listen. When you create momentum, when you're excited, when you move quick, when you got enthusiasm, it's over at hello. Now, this is the opposite of what we've been taught to do, right? Because we love what we do. We're so enthusiastic. If we meet somebody, we can't wait to tell them about it.
It's true.
But if you meet someone that you don't know and you're enthusiastic, what are they thinking the whole time?
Hype. This guy's too loud. He's full of himself. He's not a good listener.
He cares about himself and doesn't know anything about me. And it's over right there. Trust is gone.
Yeah.
So the theme here is to be consciously aware when you are attempting to control the process into a linear model that everybody in the world knows is heading them towards a sale, which is a bit of a shift for those who've been in sales for a long time. It's a bit of a twist because we're so conditioned to kind of move them down this linear path and they know it a mile away. So that's the principle number one example. Let me give you another example. Number two is this idea called getting to the truth with people. Now, what does that mean? What that means is having the other person feel comfortable telling you up front exactly where you stand. So you're not guessing anymore and playing this chasing game with people, kind of hoping it might work out. So let me give you an example of this. Recently, I had someone call my office. They got through my team and got to me on an unscheduled call. I picked it up and I heard Mr. Galper. I said, yeah. And he says, my name is John Johnson. Changed the name. He's with a big company. You reckon a global business. And he's like, I'm with XYZ company. We're looking to bring someone to change our sales culture, our performance, train our team, uplift the whole company around a new way of selling. We're looking at you and two other people. We'd like to know, first of all, why should we go with you? Why are you the best? And give me your best sales pitch. He says this to me. Now he wants me to start doing what?
Selling.
The whole dance.
Yeah.
Oh, let me show what I got. I've got this. So I took a deep breath. I'm a human being too. They're a big company.
Yeah.
I went back to my approach, my mindset. I got centered in myself. I lowered my voice and I proceeded to say this to him. What I said was this. I said, well, isn't that interesting? And I just paused for about a minute. Now I know it's like, what do I say next? What do I say? And then I said, over here at our company, we have a very similar process to you, where we ask some questions, gather information to see if we're a good fit. And if we're a good fit, we decide where to go from there. And I said to him, would you be open to that? That's all I said to him. Next thing on the phone, you know what I heard next? Nothing. Dead silence. I'm like, oh, is he still there? Then he actually breathed across the phone like a sigh of relief. You can tell like his shoulders came down. He became a human being again. He broke out of his sales structure and became the real person he really is. And he lowers his voice, David. He says to me, okay, what kind of questions do you have for me? Next thing I know, in 5 minutes, I discover one, he's not a decision maker. Two, he has no budget. And three, he's just curious as to what I do. And off he went to some of my videos online. I hung up the phone. Now, what did my process just save me months of?
Chasing, hoping, proposals, meetings that go nowhere, all of it.
Yeah. The pain of the chase that we all hate that dehumanizes us and gets rejected. In fact, there's this drug in our bodies and it's latent. It's activated with inbound calls like that. You know what that drug is called? It's called hopium.
Hopium.
You know the hopium drug?
Right. Very nice.
What a great episode. Wowza! Tell you what, if you want to ramp up your revenue as an expert who speaks professionally, you should really check out our free online training at doitmarketing.com/webinar.
Let me ask you a question about that. Would you be open to? I just had not an argument, I had a disagreement with one of my clients. I love would you be open to. He says, no, David, what I found a lot of juice with is would you be opposed to? Because would you be opposed to their natural impulse, most people's natural impulse to any question is no. So would you be opposed to? No, I'm not opposed, which means they just said yes. As opposed to would you be open to? Everyone's used to the chain of yeses. Get them to say yes to this and yes to that and yes to this. What do you think about would you be open to versus would you be opposed to?
I think it sounds good. Give it a try. See which one works better. It depends on the scenario. Say, hey, look, I'm not locked into what works. Just keep trying new ideas. But I think the key with the word open is it doesn't force them into a yes or force them into a no.
Right.
It creates a new space without any twisting of words where they feel comfortable opening up to you and telling you the truth.
Yes, huge.
There's certain elegance to the word open that I think is really letting them know that you're okay with whatever they give you back. That's the most important thing. And the word open replaces the word would you be interested?
Right. Interested or willing.
Don't ever use those words ever again. Now, I'm going to give you a phrase that I'm going to ask you and your listeners to never, ever again use after this recording. And for those who've been in sales for a long time, this might hurt just a bit. Hopefully that's okay if I shut this down. I'm going to have your listeners never again use the phrase follow up ever again after today. What's the only industry that uses the word follow up?
Sales.
Yes. Hi, I'm calling you to follow up, right? I'm calling to move things forward. Right? There's a few more classic ones too from the old gurus. There's a couple. Remember the old ones? Hey, I'm giving you a call to touch base. There's one more. There's a checking in. There's such classic 1980s sort of languaging that people know so far away that you're just one of that crowd. And they box you in that stereotype with just that one word alone.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask everyone to replace that languaging with this instead. To say, I'm just giving you a call to see if you have any feedback on our previous conversation, any feedback on our last meeting, any feedback on our proposal. See, feedback's going reverse. It's going not towards a sale. It's going backwards from the beginning. By you going backwards, what happens is you take the pressure out, the momentum out. When you try and move things forward, you're dead. They know right away when you're attempting to move them to a next step. And let me tell you right now, what I just told you is the opposite of what every consultant teaches in selling. They're teaching you to follow a linear step-by-step model. Otherwise, you can't measure it and you can't know where you stand. Well, that's too bad. You can measure trust. Trust is when they tell you the truth. When they tell you the truth, you know if you're a fit or not. And if you're a fit, guess what? They just buy from you without you trying to close them. What a wonderful model.
Yeah.
So we're so used to putting a box around the process, and that box looks like the same box from 1980s, and everyone knows no matter how much you try and make it look like it's not selling. It's consultative and your relationship building with someone, and you're just going to get to know them better. They know the hidden agenda. In fact, I tell my clients, stop building relationships with people pre-sale. Relationship building and trust building are mutually exclusive. You build a relationship with someone after the sale, not before the sale. They know it's fake. The fake, hey, how's it going? Nice to meet you. Let's go play golf. It's all fake rapport that everyone knows is not authentic. But you can build trust with them authentically and care about them. Look, they don't want to become your friend, your prospects. I'm sorry. They've got a problem they want to solve. But here, what do? We step in and mess the whole thing up by trying to become their friend first. That's the dumbest thing in the world. It's a doctor-patient relationship. You're the doctor, they're the patient.
Ari, let me ask you about that, because that, typically the patient walks into the doctor's office. The doctor does not cold call people going, you feeling sick? You feeling sick? You feeling sick? Oh, you are feeling sick. Oh, I got one. So there's an assumption that this is all inbound activity. I know that you have some really smart prospecting strategies that are totally in line with this trust building. What is the first outbound contact? Let's say we find someone on LinkedIn. What does that first outbound contact look like that still adheres to your principles?
Sure. So just to let you know, I've mapped out every single scenario you can imagine and flipped it our way. So after 20 years, we got it pretty much down now. But let me give you an example. Let's say you're making an outbound call to somebody, okay? You got a contact list you're calling. The normal way people do things is what? Hi, my name is, I'm with, we are a, how's it going today? That's the typical sort of around that zone what people always do. Of course, the minute you hear that, it's over. Here's how we handle it, okay? We say this. Hi, David. My name's Ari, and I'm hoping you can help me out for a moment. Now, what are you going to say to that?
Ari, sure. What are you after?
Of course, that's human nature. Human nature is to, when someone asks for help in that way, you're going to naturally come in, engage, and say, how can I help you? If you start with, hi, my name is, I'm with, they're going this direction away from me, the guard's going up on the defensive, now you're dead. But when you say, I'm hoping you can help me out for a moment, they jump in. Now, notice the way I said it, though. You got to say it in a very relaxed, soft, slow way. People always speed things up. They go, oh, hi, I'm hoping you can help me out for a minute. They're carrying what I call sales armor on. They're ready for the battle. They're used to bullets. They're used to being beat up. They're kind of already a casualty of the war. That's why they're so kind of, hey, do you have a couple minutes? You're trying to sneak it in. No, you got to be centered in yourself. You got to say, I'm hoping you can help me out for a moment, because you don't know if you're going to help them or not. It's the truth.
Yeah.
Your mindset has to be, when you make that call, I don't know if I can help them or not. Not, I hope I get the sale today. That's presumptive of you to lay that on someone else when you don't even know what their problems are yet. So then from there, when you say, how can I help you? It goes further than that. Then you say, I'm just giving you a call to see if you'd be open to some different ideas and insights on how to solve the issue of bringing more clients into your company and keeping clients for life. So I didn't have to describe our solution.
Yeah.
I didn't even say where I'm from. Oops, forgot that part. I just focused in on the problems that the market solves. That's a sample of how we coach people and sales teams on how to basically not play the numbers game and get a hit rate of almost 100%.
And I'm guessing, Ari, this also applies to email and LinkedIn and any communications channel to open a conversation.
Yeah, I've got a whole course on trust-based writing, especially on writing on LinkedIn, writing on emails, how to take all the hype out, how to connect on LinkedIn. It's just the same concept, a different medium. Phone, email, even live chat. I've been training companies how to use live chat using our languaging, right? Like, would you be open to share with me what your challenges on the page? Like, all this processes is what this really is trust-based communication.
Yeah, for sure.
Learning how to communicate with people through all mediums, but not pushing through the old sales communication that everyone knows on arrival. I mean, look at your inbox right now on LinkedIn. What do you have in there? Pitch after pitch. They're taking the same 1980s approach and pushing it through LinkedIn because they don't know how to build trust. They only know from their old experiences what selling's supposed to be. Imagine the amount of money being lost right now around the world by people who are still selling the old way and have not upgraded to where the world is right now. Let me tell you right now, the way that what's happened the last year or two, your customer doesn't care about how you solve the problem. They don't care about your solution. They don't care about your product or your programs or your coaching opportunities. What they care about is if you're the one to solve the problem or not. They're asking themselves the entire time, do I trust him? Do I trust him? Do I trust him? They're not processing your information about your offer and your testimonials and your programs and how you work. They're not qualified to discern and judge your solution. Only you are. They're not the experts.
Right.
And here, what do we do? Oh, let me tell you what we have to offer. Here's our program. Here's our demo. We have a program. We have 3 levels. We can take you. You think they're listening to you? Are you kidding me? It's going out one ear at the other because that's not their job to decide on your solution. Their job is to decide on you. And the only way to differentiate your business in this day and age now and going forward is not based on your product anymore, but it's by differentiating your approach.
Yes.
If your approach is not unique in this day and age, it's a typical, normal one like everybody else, get ready for a rude awakening real soon.
Yeah, for sure. So we've covered the mindset, we've covered the myths, we're now into the principles. Any other big picture kind of principles or guidelines that we need to be thinking about?
Well, I will tell you, I'm working on a new book coming out next year called The One Call Sale. And I have figured out in the last few years with private clients of mine how to compress a sales cycle, assuming you have a decision maker and they're qualified for multiple steps down to one conversation, which should be a real bomb in the industry. So let's say you have a scheduled call with somebody and they're qualified, even a LinkedIn connection. You can onboard them as a new client on one conversation. If you know how to build deep trust with them, you don't jump in and offer your solution and you onboard them with a roadmap. And that's the whole process I've really refined now and going to be in this book soon. And it's a game changer for people who are advisors, consultants who basically are on a low volume, high price point model, a high trust model. We're not chasing volume anymore. You're chasing just the high quality clients. This is the answer to help people. And the way you do that, and I'll give you a quick tip around this, is you basically do not attempt to build rapport and relationships with them on that conversation. I've got a bumper sticker I'm working on right now for the back of everyone's car. You know, it's going to be called
No rapport.
No, it's going to say, doctors don't do coffee.
Nice. Doctors don't do coffee. Yeah, no, that's absolutely it. Totally brilliant.
But they
Let
have
me ask you,
bedside manner.
There you go. There you go. I'm going to have 2 wrap-up questions for you.
Sure.
The final question is, how do people get connected and stay connected to more Ari brilliance? But even before we get to that, if people were to take one central concept from our conversation today about unlocking the sales game, being more authentic, building more trust. Notice I did not say relationship, building more trust early on, stacking the trust into this overwhelming level where people go, well, this must be the guy, this must be the gal. What's the overarching takeaway you would love them to have from our talk today?
Stop selling. Start learning how to build trust for the first time, because you do it automatically, subconsciously, most likely at home with your kids, hopefully your spouse. You do it without thinking. When you get to work, you put what I call sales armor on and a hat on that says sales, and you start changing your behavior. You become inauthentic. You talk fast. You speed up. And the minute you say hello, it's over. So unless you're open to detoxing from the old way of thinking, you'll always struggle to land clients at a high conversion rate.
Amen. I love it. Well, Ari Galper, how do people get connected and stay connected? You got some resources, you got some amazing things on the website. Let's tell them where to go.
Couple options. First, well, go to unlockthegame.com, which is our main website. You got a couple options there. One, there's a free intro course you can take to learn more about this concept. There's also the chance, if this resonates with you, we have a complimentary consultation to have a call with myself or my team. Now, I want you to experience what it's like to have a free consultation and not be sold something. Experience that for the first time in your life. You might learn how we do that with you, how we focus on your problem, how we wait for you to ask us for help. And that call alone will be worth a lot of money to learn how we do what we do, because you can take those concepts and use it for yourself.
I love it. One of the marketing gurus out there, and I forget who it was, said sometimes, meaning all the time, sometimes the best call to action is no call to action. Surprise the hell out of people and let them step up towards you.
And that's great, because if your potential client does not own their problem and ask for help, they're the worst clients ever. It's like a therapist and a patient. If the patient doesn't own their problem, they're the worst patient to pull through the process. But when they own it and they ask you for help, which means you can stop selling, then you're in a place of deep trust with somebody, and you have clients for life that way.
Awesome. Well, Ari Galper, thank you for being with us. This was tremendous.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, David.
Well, that wraps up another episode of The Speaking Show. Hey, tell you what, if you like us, rate us and review us on iTunes. Subscribe. Tell a friend. Go grab the notes and downloads and extras at thespeakingshow.com. See you next time.